Ja Morant volunteered to not be in the starting five for the Grizzlies whenever he returns. Officially, it ended yesterday, so he can return tomorrow for the Grizzlies. And they'll, I guess start him because while he volunteered to come off the bench for everything that's gone on, he's got guys like Dillon Brooks saying, no, absolutely not. You're starting for the Grizzlies, and he should if he's eligible to play, and he is. Chad, this is all eyes on Ja Morant right now. The NBA stepped in. He met with the commissioner. We've seen different issues along the way this season, and now it's on him to have a chance to get it right because we're on a string of incidents and discussion topics that had nothing to do with the talent that he had on the court. It had everything to do with either what he was doing or the crew he was running with throughout all this. And I hope he makes the right call here because he's in we had Brandon Wright in last week. We asked him, minimum, he's top 10 player in the league. Top 5, I think you could put him in there. And what he's done on the court for Memphis versus what we're seeing happen to him off the court. I'm glad the NBA did something. I'm glad the Grizzlies handled this the right way because now that's not the story. He's not pissed off at the organization. He's looking at himself in the mirror. At least that's what I presume. And now he has a chance to come back and get it right and lead the Grizzlies to the postseason.
By the way, name to watch at Providence, Bobby Hurley at Arizona State. That's one that may be on his way out that could go back to closer to the area where he's from to watch.
And Kim English was mentioned too.
Yeah. But I was thinking of the big name coach.
Yes.
So he could compete against his brother at UConn.
That's it.
And Bobby Hurley at Providence would make a lot of sense looking at some of their candidates. I think Ja Morant's going to be fine this season. I think now that he has been frightened enough with the possibility of having to, not the possibility, he had to meet with Adam Silver. He had to look at the ghost of Christmas future in the face and see that basketball may not be available to me if I continue down this path. I think that scared him enough to where it's kind of like the old Scared Straight videos back in middle school. He's been scared straight enough where he's going to be fine and well-behaved for the remainder of this season, however long their playoff run goes. Problem with Ja Morant's going to be when basketball ends this season and when he starts having pickup games at his house and when he starts getting calls from the finish line because his mom's into it with a worker there. And then he gets into fights with security guards. And then he's got more time to himself and he's hanging around the same crew that he is right now. I think that's where problems could present themselves. I hope that's not the case. I hope that he's better now. I hope he makes better decisions. But I do think that he cares about and loves basketball enough that it's not going to be an issue for the remainder of this season. But I think once that season ends, that's where it could become a problem again.
Not an issue for him. What about his dad and everyone else that's around?
I think that he can keep them at arm's length enough, again, while basketball is happening. He'll have enough built-in schedule excuses to not be around them as much to get through this stretch run of the regular season and playoffs. I think the offseason is going to be where problems will arise.
Yeah, and post-game shouldn't be an issue either. The Grizzlies changed their protocol to where they're not going to stay over and then fly the next day if they're in a city that an NBA player would want to hit, right? I think the ones are obvious. There are a handful where, we were talking with Brandon last week, you don't stay over in Salt Lake. There are a few others where you're not you want to go to your next destination or get back home. And there are trips where if you're going to L.A. or if you're in Miami or New York or wherever, if the team wants to stay over a night, they do post-game. Memphis has decided they're changing that protocol to help out all that's been going on here. And that's the right call with this. Did you see Kyrie and Dillon Brooks, by the way, he's turned into the most hated player in the league per the players. It's tough to be hated by players.
Him and Draymond Green should like each other more because they're both so hated.
Yeah, but
everyone else hates both of them.
But I think Draymond is respected because of the titles, and he's been doing this, right? And he's not afraid to go at it with look at the quote from Klay Thompson, who's talking trash now. The idea that Dillon Brooks all of a sudden became the most hated player, Thompson's confirming it. Quote, I don't care about Dillon Brooks when he retires, I don't think anyone will ever talk about Dillon Brooks ever again. That from Klay Thompson. Kyrie and Dillon Brooks post-game, Brooks came up and wanted to swap jerseys with him. So Kyrie gave him his jersey but did not accept Brooks's jersey and was asked about it post-game. He's like, yeah, I'm not swapping jerseys. He didn't want Brooks's jersey whatsoever. He goes, maybe next time. No.
Yeah,
we know the answer there.
He was dismissive about it. He said, it's no ill will. He's like, I'll get it next time I see him, and we're going to autograph it.
I love this, though. We need more of this.
Well, we don't need Kyrie Irving giving his jersey either. I want the whole jersey swap thing to go away. Keep your jersey on, shake hands, go to your locker room. If you want to exchange a jersey in the offseason because you're a big fan of someone,
well, do it.
Or there's mutual respect.
Yeah, we're seeing this in the NFL. I hate the jersey swap in the NFL.
So stupid.
When the way it was done, it happened in the tunnel post-game where you sent your equipment guy down the hallway and the other equipment guy would meet up and swap, and you'd have the signed jersey. Now they do it at the 50 after a big loss or a big win, and, everything's great. We need more rivalry here. Brooks is actually making the NBA interesting, believe it or not, because the other players are talking about him, even the players we don't hear from much, talking trash, like Klay Thompson.
There was that video of Klay Thompson who was apparently looking at Dillon Brooks at one point and counting his titles to him.
Yeah.
He was running his mouth and he was doing the 1, 2, 3, 4. And the funniest response, I said that, was he doing that or was he counting out the Warriors' road wins on the season? 4. Whatever the number is. I thought that was a funny response, too. I hate all of this, okay? Dillon Brooks, I don't like. I like the fact that he's getting some hatred going around the league, but I don't like this Grizzlies team right now. They talk way too much for someone that has not done a thing. Klay Thompson is right to spout back at him and say this. I wish Klay Thompson could stay healthy longer, too. I would like to enjoy his game a little bit more. I just don't love this story. I think the Kyrie Irving thing is blown out of proportion. He said post-game, he's like, I'll hit him back later. I wish Kyrie Irving would have come out and said, let's be done with the whole jersey exchange thing. If that's what he really wanted to do and not get his jersey at all, I shouldn't be giving you my jersey. Don't give me yours. I don't even want it. I don't care about you. I don't know that he's being completely honest post-game. I don't like any of it. I don't like any of the stuff going on. Now, if this blows up into a 7-game great series where there's fights back and forth, I know there was bad blood from the playoff series last year.
I want to watch the playoffs.
Then let's get that going. But here's what needs to happen to make this a thing. The Grizzlies must win that series. If they eliminate the champs, the Warriors, and move on, we got ourselves some true bad blood now. We've got some back and forth. The Russian is cut. At that point, the Russian is cut. And they need to cut the Russian. And the Russian here is the Golden State Warriors, and they are the only ones allowed to talk trash until the Grizzlies actually win something.
Yeah, in the postseason, because they've been beating them recently, even this past weekend.
The Warriors can't win on the road. Yeah, they need to look into their party city policies, too.
Well, I mean, at least they go to establishments where the cameras aren't rolling and
they're also looking at and talking to, Steve Kerr's looking around saying, we save our road wins for the playoffs. We'll gear up for the playoffs and go on another run. That's what they're thinking.
Yeah, I still like the move by Kyrie. Both players taking off the jersey. Kyrie hands his. Brooks is sitting there, standing there, holding his. And Kyrie walks off.
Yeah, it could have been more awkward, but Brooks immediately kept walking. It's sort of like you get you get stood up for the high five or the fist bump, and you just kind of keep rolling to the next person. He sort of did that with both jerseys in hand.
So, Game 5, Knicks, Lakers. Willis Reed hurt, misses Game 6. The return to the Garden and a tunnel ends up being named after Willis Reed Tunnel. No one could figure out, didn't know one way or the other if Reed was going to play in Game 7. And he did. Limped onto the court, and the rest is history. Willis Reed passes away today. And Naismith, Basketball Hall of Famer. You can't mention comebacks or a guy that's hurt that continues to play or comes back out of the locker room to play without thinking about Willis Reed.
Yeah, and reading a little bit about him, there's not many guys who have a game named after him, and then you know immediately what it is. The Willis Reed game is something that's always referenced. I'd love to know Willis Reed's thoughts on load management when the guy tore a thigh muscle and then came back 2 games later. Reading stories from his teammates about looking across the court at that Lakers team and seeing Elgin Baylor, Jerry West, and Wilt Chamberlain stop in their layup line and stare at Willis Reed jogging out of the tunnel for that game, and just watching his every movement thinking, is this guy really going to play? And then how his teammates knew, like, man, we got the guy in this game. That it has them that concerned that he may play. Goes out in that game, he scores the first 4 points of the game and does not score again. But those first 4 points were so important psychologically that he gutted it out and showed he could do something. Played 27 minutes in the game, 4 points. Knicks won that game by 14. They won the championship. That's the greatest era in New York Knicks basketball history. What a story that was. What a guy. I mean, he is Derek Jeter to the Knicks. He is simply known as the captain.
Yeah,
and that's who he was.
And just tie it back in with what we were previously talking about. That was 1970, and that was the same year of Pistol Pete setting the college basketball scoring record.
Great year for hoops.
No doubt. And, again, that's for any sport, by the way, the injury comeback. Willis Reed's mentioned.
Willis Reed's always that guy.